Kevin Harlan here. The NBA on Prime crew is back, and the quest for the Emirates NBA Cup is center court once again. Group play is over. Now the remaining 8 teams do battle in the knockout rounds, and Prime is your exclusive home for all the action. It all starts with the quarterfinals. 2 consecutive nights of can't-miss NBA doubleheaders this Tuesday and Wednesday night. If you're not a Prime member, sign up for a 30-day free trial to get started today. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details. The Emirates NBA Cup quarterfinals, Tuesday and Wednesday night, only on Prime.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham, joining you tonight live from the ship, so that's why my audio is terrible, but as long as Jeremy can hear me, that's all that matters.
Is this like the Kirk Spock ship, or is this the Shepard and Garrus ship? Which ship are we shipping today?
It is just a ship being built. I'll leave it at that.
So we haven't decided who we're shipping yet?
No, we have not decided who we're shipping yet. It is, I know the Hallmark movies are coming out, so maybe we'll get some ideas on who to ship.
I've been reading this fantasy series, The Glass Throne, or the Glass Throne? The Glass Castle? J. Moss. And I ship Selena with Ansel, so you might consider that. That's not a new ship, but you can consider that. It's new to me.
There you go. So yeah, honestly, folks, you'll hear some background noise on my end. I do apologize about that, but we did want to get to y'all tonight and talk about some Kansas City Royals related stuff. But before we do, as always, go bookmark royalsreview.com while you're thinking about it.
Go install the app on your phone.
Yes, that's right. You brought that up on a few episodes ago, and I did that, and it's super freaking convenient. I'll tell you that. It is.
Yeah.
You click on it. I put it on my sports bin. I just click, it goes right there. It's awesome.
Yeah, I realized Royals Keep advertised that function, and I'm like, all right, cool, whatever, I'll try it. And I was like, whoa, this is really good. Surely Royals Review has this. And I went and looked, and it's not advertised anywhere, but you can do it. And then it was cool. I liked it.
Folks, so it's been really quiet on the Royals front, but I will say that hopefully things kind of turn up a little bit this coming week, with the MLB Winter Meetings kicking off Monday down in Orlando, Florida. I know this isn't, you would think that a full week of baseball's leadership getting together in one space would lead to more kind of home run deals or moves or news or things like that. But I don't know about you, Jeremy. It kind of feels like on the roster building front, it's turned more into a rumor mill moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, basically what I perceive is that all of the baseball writers in the North America, at least, are just and the winter meetings, so many things could happen. I'm going to write 500 rumors, and then pretty much nothing usually happens during the meetings.
Yeah.
But some things can happen shortly after the meetings. The Jonathan India for Brady Singer trade happened within a week of the winter meetings last year, if I recall correctly. So, I'm sure they were talking about that during the winter meetings. They just didn't quite finish it until later.
Yeah, I think that the meetings can set the foundation for deals or, get the conversation going at least. But I just wish that we would see more deals cross the finish line.
Yeah, I could see that, but have you ever been to a con, Jacob?
No, I have not.
So I've been to a couple nerd cons, and well, I think you could argue that the winter meetings are kind of a nerd con. Baseball's kind of a nerdy sport. I'm talking science fiction fantasy. And man, you can go in there and they have these markets that they set up for all kinds of fan creators to sell their wares and smaller companies. It's also a really big thing in Japan that they'll have cons just for like people to kind of do like indie video games and comic books and stuff to try and get themselves off the ground. And man, there's so much stuff to buy, but sometimes you go in there and you get caught up in the hype, you get caught up in the mood, and you buy things that you regret later. And so maybe it's better to go home and spend a couple days thinking about it before you pull the trigger, since that's an option with the winter meetings. Of course, the Royals did still have buyer's remorse for Jonathan India last year, but they can't all be wins.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, but I bring that up because I think there are two important things that we'll talk about on today's podcast that relate to the Royals. So we'll talk about them a little bit later on, but I'm talking about the MLB Draft Lottery and the rule draft, which is happening. The lottery is happening on Monday. Draft is happening on Wednesday. So we have a little bit of time until the draft. But when you're listening to this podcast, you might already know the final, like the top 6 draft order for the next year's MLB draft. But Jeremy, last time since we spoke, number one, I don't know if maybe we had a mole on the podcast when we were recording. It seemed like I edited the podcast, and by the time that was done, you were tagging me on Blue Sky, saying, "Hey, well, this guy we talking about just got traded to the Pirates."
Yep.
It was very frustrating.
I mean, that to me is, I don't want to say it was a bullet dodge because it's not really that trade proposal. I don't think was ever a real trade proposal, but Justin Garcia, as exciting and as fun as his nickname is, the password, the bat scares me with him, and he's still rated as a high level prospect. So to get him, you have to give up more than I would want to. So to see him go somewhere else so that he's no longer an option for the Royals, that feels good for me. I would rather not acquire Justin Garcia.
I agree with that. But on the flip side, I look at this from the Red Sox lens, and they added yet another starter via trade, Johan Oviedo. And I know he's not like, again, this is another guy that the fan base is like, add a secondary ace behind Crochet. And it's like, we can lengthen the rotation. Like they have a bunch of decent starters right now, but I don't see a way for them to make a deal with the Royals right now in a way that would really benefit both parties. You know what I mean?
It does feel like they have filled up their starting rotation, and now they're probably looking for a first baseman if they're going to trade an outfielder. And honestly, I'm not really sure why you can't move one of your outfielders to first base. I know playing first base is really easy, tell them Wash, but that's would be the move I would probably make if I was the Red Sox, is be like, hey, Willie Abreu, Jarren Duran, when do you think you can figure out first base? Let's try that. And also Tristan Casas should be coming off the IL relatively early in the season, if not before the season, I think. And he was looking pretty good before he got hurt. So I'm not sure if you really want to spend a lot of money and effort on a first baseman. It kind of seems like they're just kind of stuck with their outfield, probably.
I think so. Like that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. I don't know. This is one of those teams that like, it looks like, okay, well, let's just wait for the season to get started. Like, I'm not saying they're the best roster in baseball, but they have a very complete roster in my mind out first base. And I'm sure. Go ahead.
The only hole they have is third base and maybe shortstop.
Oh my goodness,
is Trevor Story still on the roster?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, so you probably aren't getting a shortstop. You're probably hoping he can piece together enough, but they do need a third baseman, and that's about it. And they're allegedly looking at Jorge Polanco and Bregman and Bichette. So again, that's not somewhere the Royals can help them with unless they want to give up Michael Garcia, which would be an interesting conversation. Michael Garcia for Jarren Duran.
That would be interesting.
I don't know what that would look like. I'd have to run some numbers on that, but it would be interesting.
It would be interesting. Maybe we'll talk about that next go around and give you an opportunity to run some numbers on that. And by the way, on Tristan Casas's return date, still reportedly opening day. So
yeah,
maybe that's not that big of a deal to them.
I've heard they're looking for a first baseman, but I'm not sure why if you've got Casas.
Yeah, I'm not completely sure either. But who knows what's going on with that franchise? I don't even know really what's going on with the Royals right now. It's been radio on that front.
I was gonna say they're also supposed to be looking at JT Realmuto, and I'm like, don't you have Carlos Narvaez? What
Yeah,
are you
like
doing?
one of the best rookies from this past year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's probably enough Red Sox.
Yeah,
My bad.
I'm ready to move on from them. There was a outfielder that got taken off the free agency board, but he wasn't a guy that I thought really fit too well with Kansas City, but still notable that he's not an option anymore. And that is Cedric Mullins signing a 1-year, $7 million deal with the Tampa Bay Rays. It seems like he's going to a decent situation where there's some platoon options with him out there in his field. Maybe he can be one of those guys that gets his value back up on a contract here, and the Rays can cash in on that at the trade deadline, depending on where they're at. I'm sure they're going to be sellers one way or another at the trade deadline because they have a very tough division of baseball ahead of them.
And they're always wheeling and dealing. So
They are.
I think the Rays are probably the perfect spot for Cedric Mullins, who is just he's got a lot of talent still, but he needs a team who will really focus on putting him in a position to succeed. And I think that's the one thing people talk about, the trading the players at the height of the value, blah, 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 blah. But I think the one thing the Rays really do that helps them succeed is put players in the best position to succeed. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, if he can't bounce back with the Rays. I don't think he can bounce back anywhere. I do think that is a bullet dodged for the Royals. I don't know that the Royals were ever interested in him. I wouldn't have been. I wasn't interested in him. I never brought him up for that reason. He was a guy who was interesting last offseason, but he did not have a good enough, especially once he got traded to the Mets, he did not have a good enough 2025 for me to be interested in. Maybe a minor league deal where you're like, you know, if you show me something in spring training, maybe we find some room for you, but I just don't have a guaranteed spot for you. And then the Rays guaranteed him $7 million, so good for him.
Yeah,
But
hey,
I'm glad it's not with
a little
KC.
bit of a good payday, I would say.
I would take it.
Yeah. There is, let's see, that was Devin Williams to the Mets. A big deal
Airbender.
for a reliever. Would you say
351. I said the Airbender. That's his nickname.
Yeah, the Airbender. And you know what? He had a very rough first season with New York Yankees. If you look at the ERA, of course, his expected numbers were still very good. But holy smokes, a 3-year deal for $51 million works out to about $17 million per year. And like that's a lot of money for a reliever. And I wonder how this is going to work out for the Mets. Reportedly, they're still in pursuit of Edwin Diaz, a reunion with him. And so you probably have one of the most highest paid 1-2 punches in baseball if you re-sign him. And I think this is betting on Williams, like the 2025 season was just a fluke for Williams, and actually put him in a decent stadium in New York.
Yeah, the Yankees thing with Williams was always weird. I just think he was a bad, in the same way that Mullins fell into the perfect situation with Tampa. I think Williams fell into a bad situation in New York. I feel like it was a bad fit culturally for him because, you know, he was the one who got them to overturn the whole no beards thing. And then, you know, and yeah, they did what he wanted, and you go, well, they did what he wanted. Why is he still uncomfortable? Well, because he had to ask for it instead of just experiencing his life, man.
That's true.
It can throw you off. So I feel like probably he got some flack from some people for getting that change, whether within the organization or from the fan base. I know New York is, especially for the Yankees, the Mets is completely different, but playing for the Yankees is just like having 6 spotlights on you at all times, even if you're the 26th man on the roster. So and I can see absolutely a scenario where he's still getting adjusted to a new team. We've talked about this. Other people have talked about this, especially with Jonathan India. He's trying to get adjusted to a new team. Things don't go his way. Things start snowballing with people being mad, and you know, he just never quite bounces back. So a change of scenery seems like a really good thing for him. I fully expect him to completely bounce back and be dominant once again for the Mets.
Yep. So
would absolutely have done that deal for Kansas City if that had been an option.
Yeah, that's true. I also think like if you go and you look into Williams a little bit more, there are a few like spots where like, okay, why did this change going from the Brewers to the Yankees? I think of like his arm angle, which dropped considerably, like down to the lowest of his career, and that you don't think about it, but the your arm angle can influence how deceptive your pitch is coming out of your hand. So that kind of made his fastball and the changeup a little less effective, I think. So if you just get one or two things back to the Brewers form, then you have this elite reliever again. Of course, it's so much harder than I'm making it sound like, but I think that there's a clear path forward for the Mets to get Williams back to where he was, if that makes sense.
I just look at just glancing at his dashboard on Fangraphs, a 2.67 Sierra, a 1.4 FWAR. The problem wasn't Devin Williams. The problem, at least based on those numbers, the problem wasn't Devin Williams. The problem was just bad luck. And he still had 24 shutdown appearances to 11 meltdowns. Yeah, it was easily his worst big league season, but it should not have been that bad. XERA 3.11, 2.68, xFIP 2.95. All of this says, man, he was way better than the ERA says he was.
Yeah, precisely. So just moving on from there, there's no other rumors or transactions that I really know of. There's nothing I'm missing, right, Jeremy?
I can't think of anything. I think those were all the moves I have. There's other minor moves going on. I think there's a trade going down for Harry Ford. Just got traded to the Nationals for Jose Ferrer. I don't even know who Jose Ferrer is. I guess he's a flame-throwing reliever. He had a 4.48 ERA and a 2.85 Sierra last year. Only an 8.37 K per nine. Oh, yeah, he should have pitched better, but he call him a flamethrower, but he doesn't even strike out a batter per nine, and that was his third season in the big leagues. So Harry Ford's stock has drastically fallen off, but that's about it.
Yeah. One other note before we talk about stuff going on this week that I did want to bring up. I was listening to the latest episode of Rates and Barrels, one of the more stat-centric podcasts from The Athletic on baseball, and Jed Lowry, former MLB outfielder, was talking a little specifically about Jack Caglione and a few adjustments that he could make at the plate, or a few adjustments that he would like to see done at the plate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to steal his thunder, but I absolutely suggest you go and check that out. It was pretty informative, talking about how he sets up in the box and maybe why that's setting him up for not success.
What's that podcast called again?
Rates and Barrels.
Rates and Barrels. All right, I'll look that up.
It's with Eno Saris, and I'm blanking on the other host that they have there. But moving on to more of the events for this week. So first off, on Monday, we have the MLB Draft Lottery. Now, this is the fourth year that we are doing a draft lottery. I don't want to say it's a success. It's stopped tanking or anything like that. I do think that it has had positive effects in that area, though. And I want to talk about this from a Royals perspective, even though the Royals have a minuscule 0.84% chance at landing the first overall pick. Jeremy, are you taking those odds?
You're telling me there's a chance?
There's a chance,
Let me feed you a little Jim Carrey. I don't know. I haven't seen that movie, so I don't know how that actually sounds, but I've seen the meme enough times.
Yes, it's been a while since I've seen that movie myself. I bring that up because I went back and I looked at how the Royals have performed in the lottery each year since they've been in it. So they've only been in it 2 years, following the 2022 season and following the 2023 season. And both times they have had really bad luck, Jeremy. They have not, they've ranked so high and they haven't picked at that level. I think for the, for the 2024 draft, following that terrible 2023 season, they were tied for the best odds at getting that first overall pick. And we know that they did not get that first overall pick. They picked it sixth. But also with that is it shows how volatile this lottery can be, because in that same draft, the Cleveland Guardians entered the draft with 0.02% chance to get the first overall pick. And that's what they walked away with. So there's been a very anything can happen approach to this. I would love for the Royals to make a similar jump, but I would not bet on it happening. I just think the Royals are due for some luck. But Jeremy, you've talked to me before about the whole, well, don't bet on it just because they're due for it.
Yeah, the gambler's fallacies and such.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice if there was a little bit of a bounce back for the Royals. Their farm system could sure use a quasi unearned high pick, but they did get an extra pick in the what's that round called? The
Competitive balance round A.
Yeah, so basically an extra first round pick. So they get 2 first round picks. So wherever they end up picking first, it's still going to be a good draft for a good draft opportunity for them.
I agree. I think I would advocate for the Royals to get up higher in the order. I want to say primarily for having a bigger pool, a bigger bonus pool to work with, rather than pick so high. Go ahead.
I think the numbers have shown like the odds of getting a really good player drastically drop off after like the 10th pick. So if you could at least pick in the top 10 somewhere, and I think the way the draft lottery works, correct me if I'm wrong, is the lottery picks the first 6 and then it goes in win order from there.
Yeah, that's correct. So for example, if the Royals were they got picked for that 6th overall pick, they'd be good. But if they didn't get picked at all, well, then they would get stacked up behind each team that had a worse winning percentage than that. So it does help that, I guess, what's it called? There are 3 teams that are ineligible for the lottery, so that helps their situation a little bit too.
And the playoff teams are also ineligible, correct?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. So this is all the non-playoff teams are like, that's the first guideline. Like, that's the first benchmark. Then you're eligible for the lottery. Well, then after that, one of the things that they did with trying to prevent tanking was, well, you can't have a lottery pick in more than 2 consecutive years. So like the Rockies, they picked in the lottery in 24 and 25, so they can't do it in 26. And then some other CBA not nonsense, but some other CBA things that I don't really understand are affecting the Nationals and the Angels. They're ineligible for the lottery as well.
And just to make sure that we've explained this as best we can, which is not great because it's confusing as heck, getting a lottery pick means picking in the first 6, not just being in the lottery.
Correct. It means picking anywhere from the 1st through the 6th. So whichever ball comes out first of their it's not the old bingo one that you turn with your hand. It's the air one. Whichever ball comes out first is the first overall pick. Then whichever one comes out second overall pick. And they do that to fill out the first 6 picks. And then after that, you get stacked up by winning percentage.
And if you could pick 7th 2 years in a row and still be eligible for the lottery, but if you pick in the top 6 2 years in a row, you're not picking any higher than 7.
Yes, that is correct.
Yep. Okay.
It's fun
Hopefully
stuff.
That's clear as mud.
Yeah, hopefully so. Listen, this whole thing is going to be on MLB.com and MLB Network. They're trying to make a big deal out of this. So if you have time, tune in. They will do a much better job of explaining this. And I'm sure they're going to run down the 2026 draft prospects because MLB Pipeline just dropped their top 100 draft prospects for next year.
My favorite thing about that, Jacob, is like half of those guys won't be real prospects by the time we actually draft.
Yeah, because
the MLB draft is so insane.
It is. It really, really is. Like, I think of Jace LaViolette, I think.
LaViolette?
Yeah. He went to the Guardians this past draft. Still a well-regarded prospect, but like he was kind of the guy, the pick to go first overall for so much of the process leading up to the actual college season. And then he struggled mightily and he almost fell out of the first round. So a lot of things change. I don't think this first, like, the top prospect is going to change at all, though. This shortstop from UCLA he's been a legitimate prospect for a long, long time.
West Coast bias.
Yeah. More of that.
What's his name?
Man, you're always giving me the tough ones, I will say.
You're the one who brought him up.
Yeah, that's true. Brock Tulowitzki.
What a name. I love that name.
A shortstop from UCLA, but he's got a 60 grade on all of his tools except for run.
I feel like he should be a Rocky, but I would love for a guy with that name to be a Royal.
I would
Royal
too.
Rock? Yeah, that could work.
I'll take that. All right. So let's go ahead and get on to the Rule 5 draft, Jeremy, because I know you are just burning to talk about the Rule 5 draft, right?
I haven't been dragging my feet and talking about the Red Sox for 20 minutes. Absolutely not.
I'm not. So as I struggle to competently explain the MLB Draft Lottery, I am not going to explain the Rule 5 draft. All you need to know is there are some eligible players that can be selected from other organizations. Teams can make a pick, teams can pass on making a pick, but all this is these Rule 5 selections. They have to stay on the 26-man roster for X amount of days. If they don't meet that, then they get sent back, they get offered back to their old club. So basically, if a team is saying, hey, we're going to draft this guy, they are saying that they believe that he can stick on the big league roster for a good amount of time to start off the season. Is that?
I think they're saying that there's enough there to want to look at him and see if he can stick around. The thing is that it only costs $50,000 to pick a guy in the Rule 5 draft, and if you offer him back and they take, and they have to give you half that back. So the worst outcome is you pick him up, you send him back, you spent $25,000. In the world of MLB salaries, that is pennies. Not even peanuts, it's pennies. We're phasing them out. They're so worthless, okay? So, yeah.
Jeremy,
You'll see teams do it, but what interests me is that based on how cheap that opportunity is, you'll see a lot of teams pass in the draft too, including the Royals last year.
yeah, wouldn't say I was surprised that they passed last year, but like it was a little, okay, could have used that as a tool, but decided not to. And I will say, I think it was JJ Cooper with Baseball America. He had a good look at how much did the guys stick from the 2024 Rule 5 draft? How well did they perform in 2025? You had an all-star in Shane Smith. I think 71% of the players that were picked last year remained with their organization.
Wow. I never would have guessed that it was that high.
Yeah, the 2020s have been very kind to players sticking with the team that selects them.
I wonder if it's the 26-man roster doing that.
Say again?
I wonder if it's the 26-man roster doing that.
It could be. It absolutely could be. But we've already heard all the talk about the Royals leaving off guys like Gavin Cross and Frank Mazzucato. It doesn't seem like either one of them are highly regarded to get picked up, even though they are former first-round picks. Just their performance has not been great, and neither one has been above Double-A. So I do think that, Jeremy, I want to make the case to you, because I don't know if you believe this. I think the Royals could and should make a pick in the Rule 5 draft this year.
Well, yeah, I think I just argued everybody should. If you've got an open 40-man spot, the worst case scenario is you pick a guy, you go, whoop, no, he will not work, and you send him back, and it costs you $25,000 to take a look. It's like asking me, I don't know, spend a quarter on a video game, and if I don't give you 50 cents for a video game, and if I don't like it, I give it back and you give me 25 cents. Like I could get a video game, a really good game for 50 cents.
Oh, that you could.
And if I don't, oh well, I spent a quarter.
Not the end of the world. I did want to, because just like we talk a lot about what Annie Rogers says on this podcast, because she's arguably the most connected person with this organization. So it is worth noting that MLB.com, they did select utility man is what I would call him, Javier Vaz, as one of the most likely players to get picked from the Royals in the Rule 5 draft, which we'll see. He had a little bit of a down year at the plate in 2025, but he does have a better track record than what he performed at last season, and he does have a lot of positional versatility. But the Royals need that, and they didn't pick him up, so I don't think another team would as well.
No, don't worry, they're going to get Adam Frazier for his positional versatility.
Yes, of course.
It's just a matter of whether it's a lifetime contract or just a 5-year deal.
No, I think you have to keep him on a 1-year deal. No options. None of that. All right? Let's leave that nonsense
3-year deal with player options every 2 months?
Yes, let's do that. Really keep, and we'll talk about it every 2 months, of course. Will Adam Frazier still be with the Royals tomorrow?
Well, he's batting 146, 172, 148. So, yes, he will be.
But I want to talk about some guys that I think are an approach that the Royals should take, and kind of explain why I believe that. So I have seen some writers out there, some people putting out into the ether, that if the Royals dip into the Rule 5 draft, they should prioritize picking an outfielder, a bat-first outfielder. I don't believe that they should do that.
Are there any bat-first outfielders available in the Rule 5 draft?
Yes, there are a few.
Okay.
Victor Labrada with the Seattle Mariners. He's one of their top 30 prospects right now. He's a high average, high OBP guy. Doesn't bring it too much in the field, and he's an older prospect. But I've seen folks talk about him. Hendrick Pinango with the Toronto Blue Jays. He had a 122 WRC plus season for in AAA. Like, there are some bat first guys that they could go with, or if you want to steal someone from the Minnesota Twins, they had forget where he used to rank at, but Kalai Rosario with the Minnesota Twins. He was a highly regarded guy, and he just hasn't like really panned out to the point of where they add him to their 40-man roster. But again, that's another guy that I've seen. Hey, the Royals should look into this player. I just don't think they should do that.
What was the Mariners guy?
Kalai Rosario.
That was the Twins. Who was the Mariners?
Yes. Oh, the Mariners guy. I apologize. Victor Labrada.
How do you spell that?
Labra.
Huh. When I searched Victor, I got nothing. That's weird. All right.
That's very odd.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I have thoughts, but go ahead.
No, I would love to hear your thoughts. I want this to be a discussion.
I mean, Labrada is interesting to me, and so is the guy from Toronto, because they both walk a lot and they don't strike out. Like you said, Labrada doesn't have much in the way of power, and now I have to find the Pinango. Here he is. He's got some decent power. It's not great, but it's decent, and he walks a ton. Neither of them strike out much, so I would be interested in either of those guys. But who do you want? You've got some other guys you're thinking are more interesting. I'd love to hear about this.
Well, I want them to. I don't want them to pick up a outfielder in the Rule 5 draft and them like rely on needing reps at the major league level.
No, absolutely not.
So, but like that's like I look at these guys and I see that to get the value out of them that you need or you would want, they need reps. They need regular plate appearance. I don't want the Royals to do that. I would much rather the Royals go out there and get a low leverage reliever, or I have a few options for like pinch running option, because I still believe in Tyler Tolbert having a greater role at the big league level. But if they're going to keep him stashed on the bench just for pinch running opportunities, I'd rather him get sent back to AAA Omaha so he can hone the hit tool a little bit more and come back to the big leagues when he is ready for a bigger role. I think that the Rule 5 draft should round out a roster, and I am worried that if they get a bat first outfielder, they wouldn't get the same amount of value out of that guy. Does that make sense?
I guess I also look at this team and I say, cool, you got Jack Caglione in right field and you've got Kyle Isbell in center, and you can't super count on Caglione. And who do you have after that you're like, yeah, got to get that guy some playing time?
That's true.
So I feel like you could pick one of these guys up and he could be your fourth outfielder pretty easy.
Okay.
Ideally,
fair enough.
If they're your third outfielder, what are you doing? You need to go get a real outfielder in free agency or in trade. But I wouldn't hate having one of these guys to just kind of, hey, if he pops off as the fourth outfielder, we got something. If he doesn't, well, it didn't cost us anything. But I really do want to hear what you're talking about. What are some, you said low leverage reliever? Is that where you're looking?
So that's one area that I would like them to focus on, but I'll stick with, I'm not saying don't pick any outfielder.
Sure.
Like so I'm going back to the Boston Red Sox. They have an outfielder by the name of Braden Ward that I think would go well for the Royals, especially in taking Tolbert off the roster and sending him back to Omaha. Again, I'm not saying that I don't want Tyler Tolbert in Kansas City. I'm saying I want him to be better ready, better suited for a bigger role. And I think you go and you look at Braden Ward, who in the Rockies system, he just got traded from the Rockies system to Boston earlier on in November. He's still eligible for the Rule 5 draft, though. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4. He's had 4 seasons of at least 44 stolen bases. Doesn't have a lot of power. Fields
out much.
Well, go ahead.
Doesn't strike out much.
No, he doesn't strike out much. He walks at a decent clip. He gets on base. And I look at him and I just see like a good pinch running option. Like that's what I see for him. He's a left-handed pinch hitting option. So if you want to pinch hit him, if you want to pinch run him, cool. I think that's a good role for him. And of course, he's going to be 27 on opening day. Like now is the time, if you're going to get the best out of him, now is the time to do it by conventional wisdom.
Also, it would be hilarious to steal an outfielder from the Red Sox after the Red Sox are like, we can't trade you Jared Durant for less than Cole Reagans. Okay, well, we'll just take Braden Ward, and he's going to explode in Kansas City, because we said so.
Yeah. Let's see here. I did advocate for one bat first guy, but it was more so I just wanted to highlight what he did right. And it's another Twins guy. I don't think his game would translate very well to the big leagues, but I did talk about him. I looked into this Miami Marlins.
Who's the Twins guy you're just talking about?
The Twins guy is the name of Kyler Fedko. So you, have you been keeping up with the school of thought that's talking about pull air, like putting balls in play to your pull side that are a line drive or a fly ball?
Yeah, it makes mathematical sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I called him the pull air prince in my write-up. He had a 25% pull air rate in AAA last year, which was in the 85th percentile, excuse me.
Man, I like these ISOs.
What'd you say?
I like these ISOs, and he's right-handed.
Yeah, that he is. So he's a Connecticut product. I think that he would fit in as a left fielder. But again, I think he's a guy that if you want to get the most out of him, you have to commit plate appearances to. And that just doesn't suit what the Royals have right now, or what the Royals need right now.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan. The NBA on Prime crew is back, and the quest for the Emirates NBA Cup is center court once again. Group play is over. Now the remaining 8 teams do battle in the knockout rounds, and Prime is your exclusive home for all the action. It all starts with the quarterfinals. 2 consecutive nights of can't-miss doubleheaders this Tuesday and Wednesday night. Win, and you move on to the semifinals. Lose, and your quest for the cup is over. The stakes are high, and the intensity will be even higher. It's back-to-back nights of doubleheaders guaranteed to entertain. And if you're not a Prime member, that's not a problem. Sign up for a 30-day free trial to get started today. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details. The Emirates NBA Cup quarterfinals this Tuesday and Wednesday night, only on Prime.
Yeah, I guess my argument is just you don't have to get the most out of them. You just having that opportunity is what interests me, because like you're talking about with the low leverage guys or even a pinch runner, they're not going to get a ton of at bats or plate appearances or innings to pitch to develop either. So to me, it's just what do you think your best opportunity is? But go ahead.
Fair enough. No, and that's why I wanted to have this discussion, because I'm, when I'm writing these, sometimes I'm just writing to myself, looking for things to confirm my bias.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why we have these conversations, and this is why we want to hear from our listeners and such, so that we can talk about this stuff. But yeah, the Miami Marlins,
some bases too.
He does steal bases at a decent clip. He had 38 last year, which was by far the most of his career. But this was also the most he's played in a single season. In 2025, he played 130 games in the Twins system. I think his most before that was 110 back in 2022. He's had his injury issues, but he's produced at each stop.
So he's Byron Buxton. Let's go.
Would that be appropriate coming from the Twins organization?
Well, that's what made me think of it.
Yeah, and rightfully so. And just this Miami Marlins system, they're one of those teams that we've talked about a lot of having a good pitching development pipeline, but they haven't cashed in on that in regards to wins at the major league level yet. But they're at this point, I think, that where they're hitting this bottleneck of we've developed these guys, but we don't have room for all of them on the 40-man. And so they have a couple that I think would fit in well for that low leverage arm. I'm primarily looking at Zach McCamley. He's a right-handed pitcher. Where do I even start with this guy? He had 91st percentile in strikeout rate, a 31.5% strikeout rate. He misses barrels. He doesn't allow a lot of hard hit balls. Opponents had a 2.82 xWOBA against him last year, which was in the 80th percentile. He has an expanded arsenal for a reliever, which is kind of where baseball is going right now.
Filthy curve.
Yeah, very nice curveball. I like his cutter as well, and I think that he's a guy that is better suited to succeed in that lower leverage spot. You see what you get there, and the Royals. For every miss that the Royals have had in the Rule 5 draft, you have Joakim Soria, who came out of the Rule 5.
Yeah,
Some of
Brad Keller.
Yeah, Brad Keller was. I didn't bring him up because I thought that they drafted him more as a starter than as a reliever, but I could be misremembering that.
That he's came in as a back of the bullpen reliever, and then he just kept pitching well, and they didn't have any starters, so they eventually moved him to the rotation.
Gotcha. Yep. See, I misremembered that. So these relievers can pop. They don't always pop, but I feel like they have a better chance at impacting the big league club after they get drafted than like a position player does. Go ahead.
My only argument against getting a Rule 5 pitcher is that pitching is one thing the Royals seem to have a firm handle on, of just, we can grab any old guy and turn him into a good pitcher. So if you've got an opportunity like this, I would rather get a hitter, but I mean, it's not wrong to get another pitcher, especially if you think you could take a reliever and turn him into a Joakim Soria, a Brad Keller, or not a Rule 5 pick, but a Cole Reagans was a guy that the Royals picked up as a low leverage reliever, and we're like, hey, what if you did this and this? Well, now you're an ace.
That's true. So I bring up the relief pitching specifically because I feel like their options in AAA are a little thin right now.
For sure.
So
they could use some depth there. Yeah.
They could, and I'm not saying like, oh, well, because you don't get Rule 5 guys to send them to AAA. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that for some of these guys who have options remaining, if they're fringe guys on the roster, well, you option them back down. So instead of if Alex Lang is so-so in spring training, well, you option him back down to AAA. You carry the Rule 5 guy until you can't anymore, I guess,
Yeah, that makes sense. The only thing, again, that one thing that makes it harder to do a pitcher is the Bolin problem from last year, where you want to constantly be cycling your relievers up and down because of your limits on your pitching and how often you have to use your relievers. So if you've got a Rule 5 guy taking up a spot, that's one guy that you can't demote. That's basically why Taylor Clark didn't get tendered a contract, is because they weren't going to be able to move him up and down. So they decided, they replaced him with Alex Lang because they can move him up and down.
That's a good point. It's a good point. And there are a few, like, if you go over to Fangraphs and you look at the projected bullpen for the Royals right now, you have 3 guys who can't be optioned down. You have 4 guys who can't be optioned down. You're not optioning Lucas Urseg to AAA. And the only
terribly wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And the only guys who have options remaining: Angel Zerpa, Daniel Lynch IV, and Alex Lang. So I wish I was going through the eligible pitchers in the Rule 5 draft, and I really wanted to find a lefty. I really did. I could not find like a lefty that screamed, "Hey, he's ready for the big leagues." It was a little frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Another guy that I just gotta get his name out into the ether, Matt Pashard with the Miami Marlins as well. A very similar comp to Jonathan Bolin in his build, I would say. He was kind of a late bloomer. He didn't reach low A until he was 25, but he induces a lot of silly swings. He has good command. The fastball has touched 97 and averages 95.1 miles per hour this past year. I would like to see him. But again, there are so many different ways that a team could go in the Rule 5 draft, and it's all about what they prioritize. Jeremy, is there any more discussion to be had on the Rule 5 draft ideology? Like, I would like the Royals to take a chance. I just don't think that there's not a perfect guy who's going to be available to them when they're picking later on in the order to say, you go get him. Jeremy.
I double muted myself, Jacob. I double muted myself.
Wow.
Anyway, so I was just going to say, yeah, I'm with you that I hope the Royals will take a chance, because that it's a free chance. $25,000 is nothing to an MLB team. So take a chance, but also to remind the fans that the Joakim Sorias and the Brad Kellers are very far and few between. I looked up a bunch of these guys as we were discussing them on Fangraphs. You know me, I'm not big on the minor leagues, so I hadn't heard of any of these guys before. But they were all either unranked by Fangraphs they didn't have a prospect report, or their future values were 35 or 35 plus. And we discussed last year that it's not until you get to 50 future value plus that there's a reasonable chance you're going to turn into an above average player, like a starter or better. And even then it's like 50-50. So these guys, none of these guys that we've discussed are likely to be more than organizational filler, but does happen occasionally, and it's free.
Yeah. Yep. Very, very true. So,
or essentially free.
Essentially free in the grand scheme of MLB, essentially free. So the draft will be going down on Wednesday. I'm sure we'll have something on royalsreview.com. All jokes aside, Jeremy, I am losing my voice. I'm a little under the weather.
No, not you too.
Yeah, I think I caught the bug from you. I think that's how they got transmitted.
That's really unfortunate.
It is. You talk about all these computer viruses and such. All right, Jeremy, do you have anything else on the Royals front that our listeners should know about?
I sure don't.
Okay. All right. Well, we're finally in the spot that I said we were going to be about a month ago. There's nothing on there, no Royals news. Okay,
yeah.
Jeremy. Finally, in the spot I talked about.
The rumors were flying hot and fast, and then things continued to not happen. Though, again, this week is the week David Lesky said he thought things might start moving. So I'm going to keep my eyes out on Royals Review and elsewhere, because sometimes I write this stuff for Royals Review when the things happen. So
exactly.
Keeping my eyes out. I'm excited. I'm hoping we're gonna have something maybe even bigger than the Rule 5 draft to talk about on Thursday. Would be really cool.
I certainly hope so, and I'm with Lesky manifesting that. So, folks, make sure you follow or subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening at. We'll record our next episode Thursday evening and get it up to you on Friday morning. But I got to skip reviews today, Jeremy. I'm sorry.
Nah, this is all good. I think I thought of one earlier, but I forgot what it was anyway. Nothing important to talk about.
I started barraging you with minor league player names.
Yeah, and then I was like, what is these names? There's so many.
Well, folks, we'll be back with another episode later on this week. But I'm Jacob Milham, there, Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, go Royals.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.